as with most kettlebell movements that I teach, I always tell people about a clock face. When I think about on side on a clock face, we have a 12 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, and a 3 o'clock. With the kettlebell snatch, 3 different movements are going to happen at 3 different parts of the clock. There's going to be a movement where we hinge from the hips and we are at 7 o'clock with the kettlebell. There's going to be a pull and a shift at about 5 o'clock. And there's going to be an insertion of the hand into the kettlebell at about 10 o'clock. I'm going to do a couple for you so you can see how I shift and how I do a pull and how I insert the hand. And I'm going to break the movement down. So watch as I go. Okay, so the first movement we're going to break down is the hip hinge into the pull. So as we point the kettlebell at 7 o'clock, we come up and there's going to be a pull of the lat getting onto the opposite leg. Come back into 7 o'clock and pull. 7 o'clock and pull. Now it's kind of a hard movement to teach, so sometimes what I get people to do is practice with a band. And when you pick up the band, come back with a bit of tension, you hinge and you're just trying to pull that band back with that arm straight, really trying to get the lats to work as you shift onto the leg. So you push your bum backwards and you shift all with a straight arm. So pull and shift. Essentially it's the same movement with the kettlebell. Comes to here, that shift. Now that's happening at 5 o'clock because that's where that power's coming from to drive that kettlebell up. So then you got to think about when the kettlebell gets to about 10 o'clock, there's going to be insertion of the hand at 10 o'clock so that the momentum of the kettlebell is going to then take you to 12 where you can resist. You don't want to insert your hand up at 12 o'clock because your momentum is going to carry you back to 11 o'clock. But at 10 o'clock, we've thrusted, we've changed movements, the bell's coming up. Around about 10 o'clock, you insert your hand through so the momentum comes and it goes smoothly onto the back of the wrist. You don't want to see come up and then get to, you drop the kettlebell at the back of the wrist here and you can hear that clunk on the back of the wrist. You can see if I do it smoothly, and insert at 10 o'clock and the momentum carries me to 12. Again, to 12. There's a couple of things that's hard to practice straight away. So let's break down the first movement. So a hip hinge and a pull, hip hinge and a pull at 5 o'clock. On the next couple, keep getting the momentum. In about 5 more, we're going to get enough momentum to bring it right up and insert that hand at 10 o'clock. So 3, 2, and drive it up and insert at 10. Now on the way down, we slightly lean back to grab momentum of the kettlebell again so we can go straight into our next rep. So we lean back, we go, we shift, we pull, we insert at 10 o'clock. You can see from the side, as I lean back to get the momentum, shift, insert at 10 o'clock, back, shift, insert at 10 o'clock, and coming back. A couple things with the kettlebell snatch. A lot of people, some people, especially office workers, will have a tight thoracic spine, tight shoulders. There is ways to release the shoulders with the kettlebell, which I'm going to explain in a second. So you just want to double check that arms up overhead movement. You can feel that your thoracic spine is reversing. You can actually reverse your thoracic spine as you get your arms up over the head. A common thing that I see people have, ask them to raise their arms up over the head, and this is about as far as they can go. They've got their elbows bent, and they're about here. You can see how kettlebell snatch is not going to be safe for someone who has that range of motion. So there's certain things you can do. Of course, it's not a miracle. We're not going to fix it straight away. But just to mobilize the joint, there's a couple things we can do. Okay, so what I want you to see here, as I lock out that kettlebell straight up, you can probably see, or hopefully you can see, that my shoulder is elevated off the ground. What I want to try and do is use the weight of this kettlebell to get that shoulder blade or the shoulder back into its joint capsule. So if I pick my hips up and I think about driving that shoulder blade back into the floor, I should be able to sink it down, or maybe you do a wiggle and you get those shoulder blades down. Now my shoulder's a little bit more flush. Now I'm going to think about still using the weight. I'm going to put my hand on the outside of this elbow, slowly release my hips, and then just think about relaxing that kettlebell down into my joint. You might have saw a little release there where now everything is nice and flush. Generally you want to hold this for up to about 2 minutes. Depends how tight you are. There's also a lot of things we need to release, which is not, this is not going to be the miracle fix, but it's going to help a little bit. So that's one thing you can do. That's generally from the shoulder roundness, maybe from pec minor tightness or lat tightness, but it's just going to start with getting that joint back into its caption. Another release we want to do is for the pec minor, which may help with that. Another muscle we want to try and release to help that overhead tightness is the pec minor. Pec minor is another culprit of that rounded shoulder. Okay, it's a very small muscle apart from the pec major. So what I've got is just a trigger point ball. You can get a hard squash ball or a cross ball. You want to stick that on the pec minor and place a block, or you can even do your hand, and I'll show you the hand version. So if I place a block on that pec minor, just applying pressure with that same hand, and I can find that pec minor, just doing circles and just releasing into that tiny little muscle there. Generally what I do is about 3 or 4 in one direction, 3 or 4 in the other direction. We then want to floss the ball into the pec minor, so we raise up, we're applying pressure. And the last one is just get a good stretch of the pec minor, to change hands, apply pressure into that muscle, put your hand out in front and stretch a couple of times. Just feel that muscle loosen up. It's another one where you can sometimes test. You can test your overhead range of motion to see how much more comfortable that after the kettlebell release and the pec minor release, that the kettlebell is sitting down now and it's not so much of a strain, but kettlebell to be about the ears rather than out here.